Young adult novels by John Marsden that started with Tomorrow When the War Began are one of the most popular and celebrated in this country. The adaptation of the first in the series is just about to come to our cinemas from screenwriter Stuart Beattie, who also made it his debut as director. It's about a group of young people who are away camping in a remote location when Australia is invaded by a foreign power. They're Ellie, Caitlin Stacey, and her best friend Corrie, Rachel Hurd Wood. Corrie's boyfriend Kevin, Lincoln Lewis, Ellie's neighbour and friend from her youth, the tearaway Homer, Denise Actonis, the beautiful rich girl Fiona, Phoebe Tonkin, and a boy that Ellie finds interesting, Lee, Chris Pang, as well as the religious and practical Robin, Ashley Cummings. It's hard for these young people to realise what's happened to the world that they left such a short time ago.
Dad! Hello?
Where are your parents?
I don't know.
Maybe they left a note.
Did they say they were going away?
What's the story, El?
I have no idea. They should be here.
Well, let's ring my parents.
No, ring Homer's. They're closer. There's no dial tone. What?
What about the TV?
Maybe your grandmother got sick, so they left and...
No, what, so they cut the phone lines?
Sounds like an electrical problem. Maybe they had...
No, they wouldn't leave Millie to...
Oh, stinks. Power must be out. I'll check the generator.
Where's your laptop?
Ellie is the narrator of the story and ostensibly the leader. They're an intrepid group and they're not content to hide away without trying to take on the enemy.
How many people is it okay to kill in order to keep me alive? At what point do we lose ourselves if we haven't already? In the end, I think we just have to trust our instincts. After all, it's all we have left, isn't it?
What do your instincts tell you?
That it's time to go to war.
All the actors come from experience in Australian television series, except for Chris Pang, and this is his first role, and of course the British actress Rachel Hurd Wood. Mostly they do a fine job, but the standouts for me were Denise Actonis, Ashley Cummings and Caitlin Stacey, who actually has to convey much of the mood of the book, expressing as it does her doubts and confusion about her feelings. You can understand the appeal of the book to young adults because it shows the resourcefulness and humanity of the young in the face of something terrible. Stuart Beattie handles the action well. I think he's less adept at handling the development of character, but I'm sure the numerous fans of the book will be satisfied with the movie. David?
I know you've read the book. I haven't read the book. The theme is very, very similar to John Milius's film Red Dawn, made, I think, in 1984 from memory, which is about a Russian invasion of America and how young people take to the hills and become guerrilla warriors against the invaders. So it was a bit of a déjà vu situation for me. Now, Stuart Beattie has written some extraordinary screenplays. I mean, The First Part of the Caribbean, Collateral, among his CV. And as you say, this is the first film he's directed, and I think he does a very competent job. It's a very slick film, but I couldn't believe this group of friends. I mean, they're supposed to be sufficiently friendly to be able to go off on this trip together, and they just didn't seem to go together, and some of them behaved in very odd ways, like the blonde who doesn't think she's beautiful when she clearly is. You know, what's that all about? I didn't understand that at all.
Oh, David.
What?
Well, I think, you know, people's image of self is often at odds with, you know, the reality.
That may be, but so don't cast such an obviously beautiful actress to play the part. I mean, maybe it's the casting that seemed a little bit off at times.
I do
There was something off about it.
I actually think that for a first-time director to take on a cast with such limited experience of film was really bold and a bit risky, and it doesn't always pay off, I think.
There's a slight clunkiness to some of it. I mean, it's very slick, and I'm sure a lot of people will enjoy it, but there was something, as I say, slightly off-key that I can't quite put my finger on.
I'm giving it 3.5 stars.
Me too, 3.5 stars.
3.5 Archangel, Michael Archangel, defend us in battle. We are defenseless for the things of sin.
Was it fun blowing things up?
Oh, so much fun blowing things up. You know, we had a fantastic special effects crew, Dan Oliver and his guys, and our stunt crew, Chris Anderson and his people. They were just amazing, and every explosion you see in the film is the one and only take of each one, because these guys were so good and they just knew what they were doing. You know, we had setups for 6 or 7 explosions each, but every single time we'd look at the monitor and we'd say, we could be here all night, we'd never get anything as good as that. So let's just quit while we're ahead and move on. And it was, you know, that was so great, because you know, allowed us to move on and get other stuff. So yeah, blowing up stuff is always fun. I always wanted to direct, you know, and writing to me was a vehicle to directing. But you know, once you've seen your scripts realized by other directors, you start to, you know, want to do the job yourself, I think, you know, kind of naturally. And so it was just a process that evolved over the years. And then I think at the end it was a couple of, you know, stinging events that just kind of said, okay, it's time. You've got to take this job on now.
Are you going to go into the stinging events?
Things like films that I would work on. You know, I mean, a film I worked on for 18 months that I didn't get credit for. You know, things where you pour your heart and soul into them, and then, you know, just get treated like dirt, you know, by, you know, producers, filmmakers, whatever it is. It's just, it's not a kind industry if you're a writer. And so, you know, you either learn to live with it, or, you know, you set your sights to move somewhere else, which is writing or producing, or writing and directing. And like I say, I always wanted to be a director, so it was just a matter of you know, finding the right thing and being in the right place personally to go do it, which this happened to be.
I can't believe it, because it was like that when I was writing.
Oh, really?
That's what I said. I'm a refugee from screenwriting.
Really?
Because you end
Okay.
up at the bottom of the pile.
Oh, totally,
And
yeah.
I hated it.
I know, you're like chattel, you know, and you're just as replaceable as the next person, and yeah, it's bad. It's
I
bad.
would have thought that when you get to your level, things would be different.
I thought so too. I was wrong. And you know what? I talked to a lot of other screenwriter friends of mine, you know, who are, you know, bigger than me, or whatever, you know, had just as many films produced, and they said, no, that's how it is. That's how it always is, and it doesn't change. So you have to change. You know, you if that's the way it is, and you know, you just can't. You fight against it as much as you can, but you just can't change it. So, you know, you've got to change within it to survive. You know, some people are happy writing and, you know, investing their blood, sweat, and tears, and, you know, just getting a paycheck and going home. But it was never me.
Do you remember how many hours we used to spend up here?
You mean the tea parties?
Oh, we were so innocent back then. Now I feel like we were innocent right up until yesterday.
I find it very useful knowing how to write, being a director, because, you know, writing the screenplay gives you a very microcosmic view of the film, and directing, you have to have the macro view. So to have both views going on, I think helps you, you know, do the big job. I remember there was one time where we were going to shoot a scene after lunch, and I looked at the scene and I realized none of it made sense because of other things that had happened along the shoot as things happen. And so over lunch I tossed out the pages and I rewrote the scene from scratch and gave it to the actors as they walked in after lunch, and I knew it would work, you know, just because I think I'd had the confidence of writing for 20 years, you know, and I just knew that, you know, this would work, and it did, and it worked fine, and we got it. So if I hadn't, you know, had that 20 years of experience writing, I think I would have been much more, you know, nervous as a director, much less confident, and I think the film would have suffered a lot for it.
How did you get on with John Marsden? Because he was really reluctant to let anybody film this.
Yeah, I got on really well with John. You know, I wrote the screenplay and we sent it to him, and he just really liked the screenplay, I think, because I went down there and met with him, and we had our notes session, and it was, you know, he gave me like 3 or 4 notes, and that was it in the whole screenplay. So I think based on his reading of my adaptation of his book, he knew that I was as much a fan of the books as anyone, and that I understood the books, and I understood the characters, and I understood the story and the kind of movie that it should be. And I just think we were in alignment on that. And so, you know, we got on great.
Writer-director Stuart Beattie was talking about Tomorrow When the War Began, which opens around the country tomorrow.